Welcome to another episode of Supy Talks. Today, I'm joined by Marc, founder of Bubala, a veg-led Middle Eastern restaurant group in London that's grown from pop-ups into a number of sites across the capital. Bubala is one of those rare things you rate. It's not because of the hype, it's because they get the fundamentals right. Great produce, great food, good hospitality, and someone you could go every night of the week. So Marc, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure. To get started, I'm going to do a round of quick-fire questions just to get a sense of your tastes and flavours.
Sounds good.
So first of all, I want to know, what is your favourite restaurant that isn't Bubala?
I guess the way I would look at that is where do I go to the most, where I'm just walking around like, I really am craving that restaurant. And I'd say I really love Cole in Borough Market. I love what Andy and those guys do, and everything just tastes amazing.
Yeah.
So much flavour.
Yeah.
Chicken skewers, mussel skewer is amazing.
Yeah, amazing. What's your guilty pleasure food or restaurant?
There's a kebab shop near me in Southgate called Dionysus.
Okay.
And it's just something I often crave. Is that just
Amazing.
Like a real? It's not even that dirty, but it's just, I don't know, something about kind of like a grilled piece of meat and veg and in a pitta with some sauce, garlic
There's
sauce.
There's something that it does to our brains, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing. And is there what's your favourite like low-key space you go to for drinks with friends or food with friends?
I love going to the Clarence Tavern in Stoke Newington. Big favourite of mine. Great local place.
Cool. Good
cooking, great drinks.
And somewhere you'd recommend to tourists who haven't been to many places in London?
Yeah, I mean, I went there last week actually, but Quality Chop House is just such an amazing space, and it feels so London. I think that's the best thing about it. It doesn't feel like, I don't know, it feels like there's not going to be another Quality Chop House anywhere in the world. So that's kind of where I would say anyone who's coming to visit London should go to.
Yeah, it's like very London, but it isn't. And you can go as a tourist and feel welcome. The food's good. It's showing like the best of British in a way.
Definitely.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, cool. And now I want to get into talking about Bubala. So like from the outside, as someone who's been to your restaurant, it feels like Bubala was an overnight success. But like from your side, what did it actually take to get there?
Yeah, it's funny just because obviously my view on that is completely different. I mean, we started as a pop-up 2 years before we opened Spitalfields.
Yeah.
So in that 2 years, really just tried every kind of version of our food that we could, just really listening to feedback and really honing what we wanted to do over those 2 years. So although it feels like an overnight success, there was, quite a lot went into to proving the concept basically. Yeah.
And what were some of the things that changed over those 2 years?
Funnily enough, the Bubala Knows Best, which we're pretty famous for now, was in the same format as it was in that first ever pop-up. But what I would say is that's changed is just changing the style of the dishes if they didn't work. One of the things that I think I learned most was just leave your ego at the door. Like, even if you think a dish is amazing, if the guests don't think it's amazing, just take it off straight away. Don't try and push it.
What was one of those dishes that ended up off the menu that you loved?
We thought it was a really clever dish at the time, but it was a celeriac fricay, which was, we kind of turned it into like a fricay risotto. Had loads of diced celeriac in there, and then we served it with like a raw celeriac slaw.
Nice.
And just the response was everything we didn't think it would be. But again, that was actually on the restaurant menu from the day one. But I think it was maybe a week in, we were just like, look, it's not working. Got to remove it. Let's get something else on and try something else. Because if it doesn't work, if you made a mistake, just sort it out quickly.
Yeah, that's something you can just make at home. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's never been seen since.
Yeah, exactly. And was it more that the format you were changing over those 2 years, the menu, like the service style, like what were the kind of areas that evolved the most?
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, that time was spent mainly on the food side, really kind of honing the menu, because I think that was the area that we really wanted to work on most. I think also because it's not your own space, it's very hard to create the vibe that you want to create in 2 hours when you've got the keys to somewhere and you've got 2 hours to set up the kitchen, the front of house. I think for me personally, that was more so on the food side that I wanted to really hone and make sure it was right. I think once you get into a space and you create the space that you want, that's when you can really work on the other side of things.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like at the beginning, when you're just opening a restaurant or a concept, when people offer you opportunities, ideas, you kind of want to say yes, but there must reach a point where you have to say no and keep like to the core of what you're doing. What are some of the things that you would have said yes to in the early days that you say no to now?
Yeah, it's a good question. We said yes to everything in the early days. And I think you have to. I think like you need to make people aware of what you do and who you are, and if you're a good person to work with. Or so saying yes to everything at the start is great. I think there just comes a point. I think it was more like post-COVID, because during COVID we did so much. I think post-COVID we had to realize actually this is our core business. Restaurants are where we're at. We've got to focus most of our time on. Yeah. And so we would just, if there's certain events, outside events that we just couldn't do, because we didn't have the team to do it, we just had to, at times say no, just to really, I don't know, probably more so for, myself, just to make sure that we're not kind of overworked and just, Also, you want to do a good job for those things. And if you can't, if you haven't got the time or the headspace, you start doing those things and you realize, actually, if I can't do it to my best, then what's the point?
Yeah, and you spend a long time like building a reputation for something, and people are quite quick to like erode. It can be quick to erode that if you kind of push it, strain yourself too far. Definitely. So, like, are there any types of events specifically then you would not do now that you did before, and like what are the type of things outside of the restaurant that you really love doing and you still say yes to?
I think just being a bit more picky on what events that we do outside the restaurants, because we still want to do events, and it's a really great way of getting your name out there. And also, events is something that we do want to be doing in the future, which will be kind of almost like a separate part of the business. So, for example, like we loved, we did the Wilderness Banquet, and that was amazing, serving 600 people in a day. And that, in a banquet style is the way we like to serve food as well. So it's all feasting. And whereas kind of sometimes when we have done, say, a stall, we often have to adapt our menu to that. And therefore you're not really getting the true Bubala experience.
Yeah, exactly. You can get that experience across in a different setting. But if you can't get that experience across, it's kind of like you're just doing it. There's not a clear reason why.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah, it has to be a clear reason why. Great. And I feel like I did mention it at the beginning, but Bubala doesn't feel like a vegetarian restaurant. Is that intentional? Yeah.
That is completely intentional. Yeah. The way we like to describe it is, it's a Middle Eastern restaurant that happens to be vegetarian. Yeah. That was, especially when we first started, there was a lot of kind of fake meat and vegan restaurants and kind of pop-up starting. Yeah. And really, this wasn't about being preachy or you must be vegan, you must be vegetarian. I'm not vegetarian myself, so it's not about that. It's about creating an amazing experience that just doesn't serve meat.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I feel like it makes you feel like you could eat there any night of the week, because you go away feeling like it's hearty food, delicious, punchy flavors, but like you're not heavy and you could actually go and have it, for lunch the next day too, which is really, really cool. Do you have to make any adjustments to the design of the menu to kind of find the balance in a meal that doesn't have meat?
I think the fact that I'm not vegetarian, I think where my mind goes to with food is you need to be hitting different textures and flavor profiles. And so I think naturally we are picking up those umami notes and those flavors from other vegetables. For example, our mushroom skewer at Bubala, the amount of times people say that, it's like eating a skewer of chicken. And, we're not setting out to do that, but like the beauty, I guess, of using different vegetables for different dishes is that you do get different textures, you do get different flavor profiles. And I think one of the things is just great that people just start to see that, it's not just like veg that they've seen before. Like we're doing something completely different and unique.
And I think it makes you a bit more creative sometimes. Like, it makes you stand out as a restaurant because you're doing things that maybe people aren't eating anywhere else.
Definitely. Yeah.
And as for the chefs, in the business, it makes them think like, what could I use to make this texture that I don't have access to. So I think that's just quite cool.
Yeah.
I can imagine how that works really well. And what is the kind of feeling you want people to leave your restaurant with? Like, what are you aiming for there?
Yeah, look, we talk about it quite a lot. We want everyone to leave happy.
Yeah.
That's the main goal. Like, we want, from the start of the experience, right at the beginning, when someone walks through the door, to be greeted with a smile and, understanding that people, whoever comes to the restaurant, they might have had a really bad day or they might have had an amazing day. And we've got to kind of cater to like, okay, if they've had an amazing day, how do we make it even better by like being the experience that really we're like, I had the best day. And then we went to Bubala and it was the most amazing experience. And for people who haven't had the best day and we've turned it around, like some of my favorite moments from being on the floor back when we first opened was those really like the customers, the guests that really don't like want to be there. Yeah. And then by the end of it, they're almost high-fiving you or giving you a hug. And that's kind of the warmth that we want to bring to people's experience.
Yeah, because when we were chatting before, I thought you summed up really well. You said you want something like a generous, warm meal. Yeah, I think it's really cool. And I imagine those wins when people can be resistant to going somewhere that doesn't have meat, and when you turn those people around and they go, "All right, I was wrong." That's quite a satisfying feeling.
Or at the end of the meal, the amount of times people said, "Was that vegetarian?" I didn't realise there was no meat on that menu. That's cool. An amazing for us. That's like. Yeah, you don't need to be thinking of it like that. Like, I need my protein and carb. Like, we're not that kind of restaurant.
No, I feel like that's moving with the times as well. Like, people are learning a lot more about, like, the advice we had as kids, maybe about what kind of macronutrients and things you need is like, science is kind of telling us actually maybe it wasn't right on that front. So that's really kind of nice probably for you to be on that wave because you've earned being there, but it is a rising tide 100%. As well.
Yeah, timing has a lot to do with it as well. Like, I almost feel like if we did this concept 10 years ago, well, actually it's almost been 10 years now, but 10 years prior to that, probably it wouldn't have had the same impact.
As an operator, like, time is quite tough, like margins very tight. So does being veg-led give you some protection against kind of food cost volatility?
It does. Look, I mean, vegetables are cheaper. They are. But I mean, I guess when you first start, for example, when we first started Bubala, the margins would have been X. Yeah. They have increased. So like, however, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. There is still an impact. Yeah. But what it kind of does allow us to do is, because those margins did start off in a good place, that, we probably can afford to eat into them a bit more than maybe others can to, I guess, survive and grow.
Yeah, because you've got a bit the confidence now. You probably understand your business, who's going to come in the door. Yeah, definitely. You've got 3 sites, I believe, at the moment. So then you can have a bit of a better negotiation with your suppliers.
Definitely, yeah.
How do you go about like choosing your suppliers, picking your suppliers, working with them?
Yeah, I mean, we've worked with some of the same suppliers for a long, like since the beginning. I mean, when it comes to the veg, we want to work with the best producers and farmers that we can. And then look, like, so a lot of it is, the people behind it as well. I mean, for example, our bread, our Laffa flatbread, is made by Fizzer in Ridley Road Market, and just, it's turntable, and they're just making flatbreads all day long. Cool. And she's amazing. And right at the back when we first started, I would go every Sunday to pay her for the week's breads. And there's something quite special about that, like really staying close to suppliers and I'd go there, pay for the week's breads, and then she'd be like, "Here, I've made you a flatbread and take away." And like, it was just a really nice. Cool. I love that kind of relationship as well. And that goes back to when people enter the building at Bubala. It doesn't matter when service starts. Like, we just want that warmth to be. It's not just right. It's turn service on and that's it. It's a constant.
That's really cool. And just because I'm personally curious, you must go through a lot of chickpeas, mushroom, cauliflower, things like that. What type of volumes are we speaking?
Someone told me this week actually that we almost go through a ton of aubergines a month.
Wow.
Which is pretty a ton of aubergine. I think we go through 100 kilos of hummus a week. The volumes are insane. I mean, when we get a mushroom delivery, and we get them every day, like oyster mushroom skewers, just get pallet, like just lots of like, you can't see past the crates, like, and that's every day. The amount that is pretty insane. I think also versus, I guess, meat and fish.
Yeah.
Veg they take up a lot of space.
Yeah. And does it takes a lot of space. So actually that's was going to be my next question about what are the challenges of having like veg-led restaurant that standard restaurants might not have. I imagine there's space.
Yeah.
Does it also take a lot of prep to break down vegetables?
Yeah, definitely. Prep's a big one.
Yeah.
I'd say, our biggest pinch points are storage and space to prep. Because I don't know, even if you think about a cauliflower, like there's a lot of that cauliflower that needs trimming, and they come in big crates, and you got ideally you probably have to like prep them before putting them away, just because you just don't have the space to just store crates of veg. So I'd say storage and prep is probably the biggest pains that we have.
Yeah, I can imagine. And like now you're up to 3 sites. What were some of the things you maybe underestimated when going from 1 to 2 or to 3 sites?
It's funny. I think you obviously know it at the time, but making sure that the culture is right as you grow is really important. And I think we got lucky first time around when we went from 1 to 2 sites. I think my naivety with Spitalfields, we opened within 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I think I probably had that same mindset with Soho, which actually took 9 months. But what that did allow us to do is actually hire the most senior people sooner. So we actually had the general manager and the assistant general manager for Soho 6 months before we opened, which at the time was like, this is
costly,
very costly. But at the same time, what that did for the opening and the culture was huge, because it just meant that those 2 really senior people were able to really understand what we do and what we stand for. And also, we got time to work with them as well. So when we actually then opened Soho, the culture was really good. Yeah. And I guess I was quite surprised at that, but at the same time, it just made me realize that actually you do need to you can't just have a team, right, a month before we open, let's get everyone together. Yeah. That's something you need to be able to kind of implement sooner. And I think with King's Cross even more so, it was amazing because we took managers from Spitalfields and Soho, and pretty much that whole management team had been at Bubala for at least a year, again, which made that is creating a culture is the hardest part. And I think being able to do that was pretty special actually. So it wasn't like, right, we have to hire a whole new team and get them, it was the team really like they saw growth as an opportunity and a challenge. And really, it was really exciting to see that.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I think it's probably something, one site, you are the culture.
Yeah.
Like it's coming out of you, everyone's working with you every day, but actually scaling it up, it's probably something you don't think about until a little bit later on. But when you've got 3 sites, some people in the business might not have even heard of what your restaurant is before joining. Yeah. So it's quite a big thing to change. And is there something, so say you're going to site 4, 5, whatever, is there something you're looking for in those hires? Like what is that culture?
Yeah, it's funny. We're actually trying a lot at the moment to figure that out. Like what are we looking for in those people? I think a lot of it's been gut up until now. Yeah. Like, is this person right? But now I think we really want to start understanding, okay, what really makes someone a leader? Yeah. And that is kind of making sure that the guest is looked after. Yeah. Really understanding. I think now we are, a group of restaurants. Yeah. Understanding the bigger picture is really big because we need those people to really understand that, okay, someone might be sick at another site. We're going to need to lean on the sites. And actually, another thing that's amazing at the moment is that is really instilled in the culture now. The sites the restaurants want to help each other, because they know that we're part of a bigger thing now. That's cool. It's really cool, and that's something that we want to keep going and making sure that people don't feel like, right, no, this is our restaurant, but we're actually a collective.
Yeah. That's really cool. And I've heard that your King's Cross site is flying even at the weekends, so in January. So you must be doing something right on that front. And are there any like particular hires in the business that you've brought in that have really like changed the game for you as an owner operator?
Yeah, I think as soon as, from day one until basically COVID, which was only 6 months, it was me just head down, very much thinking day to day. And I think you can really start when you actually take yourself away from it, realize that if you're doing everything, you're doing it at kind of 50, 60%.
Yeah.
Whereas actually when you start hiring good people, they can be doing it at 95% and actually with a lot more experience. So, we've got an amazing team at the moment in our support office, and they're just really ambitious and hungry and I guess encapsulate that leadership values that I was talking about before, where they do want to make sure that every guest leaves happy. And so I mean, we've only recently kind of built this support office structure, but the team are really amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. And you're being recognized for it, like Code, you just won happiest place to work.
Yeah.
That must be really nice for you, but also for everyone in that team to like get that stamp of approval.
100%. I think that was probably the proudest moment of running Bubala. You don't start a restaurant to have the best culture. I mean, that isn't why you get into it, but slowly as we've grown, it's like, what an amazing, I want to step into a restaurant and feel happy as well. Like, it really means a lot, the team, because that award was voted for by our own team.
Oh, amazing.
Which is like, it's amazing. And we do have a great team.
Yeah.
And, that is something that, that really meant a lot.
Yeah. And people work long hours. They're there a lot of the time. So, and as a guest, you feel it if people are happy in there or not. So that's awesome. Actually, I'm interested in your opening of the support office. Just thinking other people watching this might be at a similar stage to you, where they are they're going from one to a couple of sites. Like, what order did you hire the roles in? Which roles did you hire? Like, and how does that fit into your vision for like what's next?
Yeah, I think you've got, it's hard. I think you've got to almost decide like what is the most important right now. Yeah. And also probably look at yourself and think, well, what is your skill set as well? Because where we're at now, look, we've got an operations director, we've got an ops manager, we've got a marketing manager, we've got a people manager, we've got an executive chef. I think the first port of call really for me was operations, because it's such a broad term, but I think also because it's broad, it an operations manager of one or two sites, I think really understands that you do have to be kind of doing a lot of things. And then you just really got to decide what, I've got a bit of a background in finance, and finance is probably the one position we're missing at the moment in terms of like a full support office and business. Yeah. But I guess I felt that I could probably get us to a point. Yes. So again, I think you got what are your skills? Yeah. And then think, well, what other skills does this business really need? And I think starting with operations is probably a good point. Yeah.
I think that's great advice. And you can't go wrong with operations because they're kind of like the problem solvers. Yeah. So there's not that everyone else isn't problem solving, but that's like the core of what they do. Definitely. So that totally makes sense. And as you've kind of scaled up, like what systems, like SOPs have you put into place? And are you using much tech to support what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, tech is, especially as you grow, it's becoming it's incredibly important. We use a bit of software called Tenzo, which kind of aggregates all of our tech into one place, and it allows us to really see how the business is doing. And not to say that we let tech dictate all our decisions, we don't, but I think a mixture of gut and tech is really important. Definitely. So like the data that we get now, because I don't know, you can almost kind of think anecdotally all the time. You're like, I'm pretty sure that's selling well. Yeah. And then you look at the data and it's like, no, it's not. Yeah. And actually turns out not many people like it. So and I just think that's where I think you really need to use data. Yeah. I think, we Tenzo's been good for us because it takes all of our information from all of our different tech stack and puts it into one place.
That's really cool. And I think as if you make a decision now, you kind of want to have the gut feel. You need to stay close to the pulse or whatever it is to have a feel. But like to take the confidence to make changes across a number of restaurants, it's nice to have the data to back it up. Definitely. Because like taking those decisions costs time, energy, money. So having that confidence is really good. Yeah. And has that visibility across sites kind of changed the way you make decisions? Well, I guess it has. It's backing it up with data. But like, I guess then my question is, are there any places where tech has reduced friction, like made your life easier, communications, I don't know, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think on a day-to-day basis, It's one of those things. I think it takes a long time to implement and get everyone on board.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of good tech out there, but if you're not using it properly, it's almost useless. So I think if you're using the right bit of tech and you're using it to its maximum potential, it's amazing. It definitely reduces friction. We're able to use or gain data that otherwise would be, let's spend half a day going through our EPOS system and how much are we selling here? It really does. I think, and it allows you to focus on what you want to focus on, especially like it's a people business that you don't want to be spending time going through data, especially, we don't have a finance person. So it's like,
it's going to be you.
Yeah. And also like we want to focus on what is important. Like you said at the start of the show, it's the food, it's the vibe, it's the service, it's the warmth, it's how you feel. And that's what we want to be focusing on.
Yeah. Giving you more time to
more
do
time.
this. Yeah. Are there any pieces of tech innovation that you're bringing in that you're excited for? Like anything you're kind of thinking, I'm going to bring this in and it's going to make a difference?
Yeah, we're about to bring in a piece of tech called All Gravy, which is going to help with our kind of internal communications. It helps with training. It just, we've always been anti WhatsApp as a company anyway. So we've never had WhatsApp groups or anything. It's all very much, we currently use a tech called Blink, and it enables you to put do not disturb on when you're not there. And, I think it just stops that blurred line of, if you get WhatsApp, you can't turn that off because you're going to get WhatsApp from your personal life. Whereas with an app that can be used during work, you can turn it off. And we very much say, please, if you've cleared your desk, do not disturb. Yeah. We won't.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. I've heard a lot of good stuff about All Gravy too. So I hope that goes well. And just going back a little bit to the cost pressures restaurants are facing, I think your set menu has gone from about £30 to £46 over a number of years. It's understandable, and you're probably standing still financially. So what does that say about the reality of running a restaurant today?
Yeah. Like you said, so it's gone from 30 to 46 in 6 years.
Yeah.
And with no extra profit at the end of it, to be honest with you. And actually what it does, it makes the whole value proposition skewed as well because, and really excitingly actually, as of the 15th of this month, February, we are going back to £39 across all our sites for our set menu because we want to remain value. Like there's nothing worse that when we first started at £30, the feedback was so generous, so much food, £30, what a bargain.
Yeah.
Whereas when that gets to 46, is people that changes to, it's still generous.
Yeah.
But I don't need it. I'd rather have less food and probably pay less.
Yeah.
And that's where we've kind of come to the conclusion that actually we want to, for us, it's so important that people come away not saying, but I was generous, but slightly more. We want people to come away being like, that was a no-brainer. Yeah. That is amazing. You're not going to get a better value meal as good a food and good a service as that in London, and that's kind of where we want to be.
That's really exciting news. Yeah. And I feel like people can always add on, right? So if you have a great set menu and someone wants more, there's more.
Definitely.
And then you get to try more of the menu, you get more of the vibe, which is kind of all you want. Like when I go to a restaurant, I want to try as much of it as possible.
Yeah. Also, people would be like, no one would go for dessert as a result.
True.
Because they're just stuffed.
In this industry, there's a lot of hustle and bustle. There's a lot of chaos. And normally there's some good stories from it. So can you tell me about a time when things have gone wrong and what you've learned from that?
There's countless. I think in the early days, I probably could have written a story a week. And actually looking back, I wish I'd have written some of them down because I forgot most of them. From the pop-up days, there was a time where I'd kind of just started. We'd done a few pop-ups. They've been fairly successful. And I kind of said, right, now's the time. I need to, sell 150 tickets and really start to see if we can do this on a bigger scale. And I remember one specific pop-up where we did sell 150 tickets, but you come into these venues at 4 p.m. We've got 2 hours to set up, 2 hours to prep and finish prep, and that's
a race against time.
It's honestly a race against time, and especially when most of the time you haven't worked with a lot of people that you're actually working with, and you've never seen the kitchen or worked in that kitchen before. And this was the first time we'd used this kitchen.
Yeah.
And I had a table of family there, and I remember, they came at 6 p.m. and at 9 p.m. we still hadn't served them.
Oh, no.
And actually my uncle had walked out at that point.
No way.
And I just remember looking there thinking, I never want this feeling ever again. So that was a good learning. And then, even on the opening night of Bubala Spitalfields, we'd placed the coffee machine perfectly over the electrical cupboard, which was a really smart move.
No way.
And that overflowed and coffee went into the electrics. All the electrics went down just before service. No EPOS system. We're writing checks. But you know what? It's one of those, I remember it so well. We were writing checks. We had candlelight in the kitchen. It was insane.
Yeah, that is cool. Those are great stories. Yeah. And you always learn from those kind of things. Yeah. Amazing. Okay, final few questions now. So I was just wondering, as you run a number of restaurants, is there any of your beliefs about owning and running a restaurant that have changed over time?
Yeah, I guess. I think a funny thing, I got into this for food. I love food. I love hospitality. I love, cooking. I love eating out. But it is funny, food is one. It's obviously big, but it ends up being a fairly small part of what is a massive ecosystem of things that need to be done in a restaurant. And I think the misconception is, all right, if you get your food right and you got your drinks right and your service is good, you're going to be good. There's so much more that goes into it. And also from a financial point of view, there's so many costs and headwinds that you've really got to be able to handle. Yeah. You could be the most popular restaurant in the world and not make any money and you'd be closed in 2 years. And it's making sure that you've got everything in line. I wouldn't say it's complicated, but it's hard to make sure that everything is where it should be. Yeah. I think it's really clear where margins kind of sit. But they can easily just, utility bills going up could really skew it if you've got the wrong deal on that or your payment rates and stuff. It's just so many things. I think you underestimate, even in the pop-up days, you kind of underestimate the difference between having or doing a service versus looking after the building and what that entails. And there's so much that goes into it. And I think you got to be prepared for that. It's the bricks and mortar is not just pricey and huge risk. There's a lot of things you don't realize as you go into it as well.
Yeah. And did you learn, I think that's a great point. And I can see how there's not much that can educate you around that before getting into it out there. Maybe in some countries they have a bit more technical colleges and stuff. There is. How did you go and learn, or is it just trial and error?
Trial and error. Also each site is different. Spitalfields, again, probably gave me a warped perspective of what opening a restaurant looks like, because it was already a restaurant. We gave it a lick of paint, new furniture. The kitchen was already there. A couple of things we had to change. Yeah. And like I said, we were open in 6 weeks, whereas Soho, you have to gut the place. And the things you find when you gut a place and you think you know how much things are going to cost, and then they cost double. And it's just those kind of balancing all of that and making sure that you can deal with it. I guess you just learn as you go. I don't think there is a school of that. No. It's a school of life, really. Exactly. You're learning things that, and every site we go into, it's a completely different story. So it's amazing learning. I'm hoping that at a certain point I've learned as much as I can. Yeah. But it just feels like every restaurant's different.
Be prepared for chaos.
Basically, I think that was the pop-ups as well. That enabled you to really. Anything can happen. You've just got to be ready for it. It's all solution-driven stuff. You've just got to. I don't know if it was a negative thing, but I always felt positive by saying it. But I used to think, I still do, what's going to go wrong today? Yeah. And it just almost mentally prepared me for when something did go wrong, because ultimately they will. Change or chaos is the only constant thing, really. Yeah, if you go into every day, I used to say that with service as well. If you go into a service, I hope this goes smoothly, you're not ready for when it doesn't. No. And then you panic. Yeah, exactly. If you go into it with a really clear mindset of, I'm ready. Yeah. If anything goes wrong, then
That's great.
And don't take it too seriously as well, because then you can just, I don't know, feel relaxed when you're making decisions and composed.
Yeah, and when you've been through a lot of chaos and you also know that you got past that, like in the moment it feels like the world's ending, but you know that it's not. Definitely. It's not. Like you're going to have a time when you can look back on it.
100%, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, Marc. It's been great to chat from you. Great stories, great insights. Look forward to seeing Bubala continue to grow. So yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on, and we'll see you on another episode.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.